Football, bloody hell. What a game, what a night, what a result. Manchester United 2, Man City 1. We just witnessed the Red Devils, what's the word? Obliterate the noisy neighbors. Without any further ado, let's analyze. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get started with this tactical analysis video. Now, before we get started, this video is segmented into 3 parts. Basically, first, we're going to focus on Manchester United's prowess when it comes to defending, and I think that we defended super well in this game. Then we're going to talk about certain areas of improvement. This Amorim system is not perfect yet, and so I'm going to highlight a few things that we definitely need to improve on. And then finally, we're going to end it with a hopeful, positive note. Basically, I'm going to show you things that really make me optimistic about the future of this Manchester United squad under Ruben Amorim. So first, let's talk about the defensive prowess. First, this Pep Guardiola system at Manchester City, I don't know if it's a personnel issue or it's just him overthinking, but it's extremely narrow. If you remember the FA Cup final with Erik ten Hag, he also played a very narrow system, basically clogging up that central area, forcing Manchester City to go wide. If you remember in that game, they didn't have Doku in the first half, and he was introduced in the second half to kind of cause us some problems. That was the only thing that Pep Guardiola really could do when it comes to tactical adaptability. It was a little bit too little too late. He's learned his lesson. He started with Doku this time. But as you can see here, Amorim has this shape where he has the front 5 players, basically, who are tasked with pressing, but also within a structure, this pentagon shape, and they just follow the ball, basically. But then you have the back 5 who actually stay tight and in line with each other. They play a high defensive line, and as you can see, they are not a low block by any means. So it's not defensive and negative defensive low block kind of strategy, but rather trying to squeeze the spaces that Manchester City could exploit, especially with players like Foden and Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne, who like to play in between the lines. But of course, the Manchester United players were quite disciplined in this game tactically, and so Manchester City did not actually have a lot of spaces here through the middle, which is of course where their strengths lie. So now here we can see what Amorim is trying to do. Basically, he's trying to make it near impossible for Manchester City to go through the middle. As you can see, all of their danger players, even Doku, who is actually supposed to provide the width, is actually playing through the middle without really much threats in these wide areas. So again, Amorim is preventing Manchester City from playing through their strengths and forcing them to kind of either go wide or to go through the middle, but without many chances of success. So here, as you can see, the moment they get the ball, they want to go direct through the middle towards Erling Haaland. But of course, this didn't work because, of course, it just makes it easier for players like Maguire to deal with this. And I think that our defenders, with the exception of Diogo Dalot, everybody from Ugarte, Lisandro Martinez, Maguire, Mazraoui, and De Ligt, I think this was probably one of De Ligt's best games in a Manchester United shirt, were truly amazing, with, of course, Amad Diallo in the offensive areas. Here is another example, for example. So Gundogan here at first wants to go towards Haaland. He's, of course, occupied. So instead, he's going to go towards Foden. But then De Ligt is too close to him. And then again, same thing is going to happen. He's just there to pick up the ball. Also notice how in the first sequence, it was Bruno Fernandes. In this sequence, it's Amad Diallo, who just dropped deeper so that they can actually collect and recover those balls whenever the defenders, the center backs, actually just go step up and put pressure on the opposition forwards. And here, of course, classic Manchester United transition team. Bruno Fernandes can go on the counter here. He's got a willing runner with Mason Mount. And of course, this caused Manchester City all kinds of problems because not only were they frustrated because they could not really create much, but also it made them vulnerable to our counters. Here, Gundogan again, everything went through him in the midfield for Manchester City. But what we're going to see here, because I've criticized the Manchester United players many times in many of my analysis videos, criticized them for their lack of intelligence, basically on the pitch, okay? Because, like, you have to adapt to what the opposition is doing, and the manager cannot give you all the pointers that you need to be successful. Sometimes you have to think for yourself. And so here what we have is Ugarte, who is actually marking Kevin De Bruyne over there. So as you can see, all of the Manchester United players are moving towards this area. Still Ugarte with De Bruyne. But here something's going to happen. So Ugarte here, as you can see, sees Gundogan, who is quite, like, he's the main deep line playmaker from Manchester City. And so he sees him as a danger man. But of course, by going towards Gundogan, he's going to leave De Bruyne. And now Lisandro Martinez observes that. And so he's going to adapt to the decision that Ugarte has just taken. So Ugarte, by going towards Gundogan, De Bruyne, as you can see, is free. So now what's going to happen is that Lisandro Martinez decisively and with intensity goes on De Bruyne. So now Gundogan cannot really have much time on the ball because of Ugarte, but also the moment De Bruyne gets the ball, Lisandro Martinez is going to be on him. And now, as you can see, the strength of Manchester City's system is, of course, these triangles. That's what allows them to keep ball possession. But now, as you can see, the Manchester United players, slowly, they were able to creep up on them and just cause them to not have as much time on the ball. And then De Bruyne gets the ball. By the way, that was our ball, our throw-in. And this is just another example of how we made it hard for Manchester City to have space and time on the ball. Here's another example. So here, Matheus Nunes, he wants to go towards the central areas again, because that's what Manchester City wanted to do. That's where the danger players are. But here, Ugarte, who is marking Foden right here, he's actually not only marking Foden, he's marking this area, including De Bruyne. And that's exactly what he's going to do. As the ball comes in, he reads it well, he intercepts it. This is just an amazing play from Ugarte. By the way, guys, please let me know what you think of Ugarte's performance in the comment section below, because I feel that this is a player that we haven't talked about much. I think it took him some time to adapt to life at Manchester United. He was a little bit confused in the Erik ten Hag system, but now under Amorim, I think that he's improving every game, and I think this was probably his best game in a Manchester United shirt. Please let me know in the comment section what you thought of his performance against Manchester City. Winning the ball, his job was done. Now laying it out to Bruno Fernandes, a player with a more expensive passing range to create. And here Ugarte is not done. Again, like I told you with Jeremy Doku, he was mainly providing width for Manchester City, but it doesn't mean that he was successful, especially with Mazraoui. I think he kept him in check. I think Doku is one of the best dribblers in world football. So there were a couple of times where he got the upper hand on Mazraoui, but still, he was not as dangerous as Pep would have hoped he would be. Now here is a sequence where he's coming back, retreating. Ugarte now is identifying this opportunity. Amad Diallo has been excellent in this game. He's pressing with authority and intensity, forcing Matheus Nunes to go towards Guardiola. The moment he goes, Ugarte is there to just come. That's it. That's beautiful. Beautiful. I screamed when that happened on screen. That's beautiful. And then now Manchester United again can go and counter. Okay? Now, we talked about defending, and that's an area that Manchester United got absolutely right tactically in this game. But now let's talk about the areas of improvement, because I think that this system that Amorim has is definitely a great system. I mean, I've enjoyed watching his Sporting team play, and with Manchester United, we can definitely see that the players are buying into it. But I still feel that we have areas where we need to improve, and this is one of them. So Mazraoui has the ball, and he plays this forward ball towards Bruno Fernandes. Nothing wrong with this ball. It's the right ball. Great control from Bruno Fernandes. However, this is one key issue that I have with this system right now, is because on the one hand, Ruben Amorim has brought something that we've been lacking since the Ralf Rangnick era. If you remember, Ralf Rangnick, when he first joined Manchester United, he talked about how he watched our game against Arsenal from the stand, and it was a box-to-box kind of game, end-to-end, and he was like, that gave him anxiety. Because in football, you want to have control over the game. You want to be in control, be in charge of your own destiny. And so with that, that means you need to be a little bit safer with the passing decisions that you make and the runs, etc. But this is a great example of how we need to balance that out. On the one hand, Ruben Amorim emphasizing the importance of control with the players is giving us more control, more stability, and more ball possession, and that's great. But on the other hand, especially with players like Bruno Fernandes, you don't want to stifle that creative freedom out of them. Here, he should have played this pass. Look, the defensive line is completely disorganized. Diogo Dalot would have been through on goal with this. And we've seen Bruno Fernandes, if you remember, in Erik ten Hag's first game against Arsenal, there was an assist just like this from Bruno Fernandes for Marcus Rashford. And so Bruno Fernandes is capable of that. And yet what he does here is that he's going to play it safe. And instead of going towards Dalot, he goes towards Lisandro Martinez in that area. But that's not it, because I think that the Manchester United players made another bad decision right here. So Højlund, of course, Lisandro Martinez, who has been a very good ball-playing defender on the left, Højlund now is going to do a very good center-forward play. So here he's making the right run, and Lisandro Martinez finds him with the right pass. And what I love about this is that Højlund is up to the fight with Ruben Dias. He's up to the tussle. He's using his physicality. Very good hold-up play, center-forward hold-up play. And now he turns to face his teammate. This is the pass he should have played. This pass towards Kobbie Mainoo, especially with Amad Diallo potentially being empty here. Kobbie Mainoo is a player I would trust his technical ability. I think he could take Guardiola. This is the pass he should have played, but he didn't. Instead, he goes towards Bruno Fernandes, and we play it safe, and we just lose the momentum. And so, like I said, on the one hand, yes, I want us to have control of the ball. I want us to make better decisions. I want us to treat the ball with respect. I've said that in a few of my videos before. But also on the other hand, when you're in the final third, when you identify an opening like this, you have to go for the jugular, okay? Now, this is a whole different example. In fact, the keen-eyed among you may have noticed the timestamp over here. In fact, this was just moments before we conceded the goal. And we conceded that goal because we gave Manchester City possession back without them really fighting for it. So here, for example, this is an example of kind of decision-making that we shouldn't be making. Here, this area is congested. Okay, you could go long towards Diogo Dalot, but again, the chances that De Ligt is going to actually execute this pass perfectly are very low. But also, what's the upside? What do we gain from this situation? We would have been better off just recycling possession, just making Manchester City run for the ball. They didn't. Now here you could make the case that Bruno Fernandes and Dalot could have done better with Bernardo Silva here fighting for the ball and getting the foul. But again, the question here is, did we need to take that risk with that De Ligt pass? Just as much as Bruno Fernandes earlier should have taken the risk with that pass to Dalot, that threw ball into space, I think that De Ligt should have played it safe in this situation. And I think that the Manchester United players need to adapt a little better when it comes to decision making. And here is another area of improvement. Again, De Ligt has been a monster. Haaland was quiet because between De Ligt and Maguire, he didn't have a chance. Wins the ball, and then Kobbie Mainoo now towards Amad Diallo. And then here we have our front trident of Højlund, Amad Diallo, and Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, the ball carrier. Højlund making the center forward move to kind of push this defensive line back. And Amad Diallo going wide. So far, I have no complaints whatsoever. These are the right moves. There's a lot of dynamism in their movement and in the decisions they make. However, this is the problem. This was in the same sequence. We ended up in this situation where we have Højlund as the only focal point in the box, with 4 of our players out wide, including Amad Diallo and Bruno Fernandes. Remember, this was after Mason Mount got injured, so Bruno Fernandes was technically one of the forwards in this 3-4-3 system. If we do not provide men in the box, we are not going to score. And in fact, like there are a few teams like Inter Milan, for example, even though they play 3-5-2, not really a 3-4-3, and of course, Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso. But what you see from them is that, especially from the wingbacks, players like Grimaldo and Frimpong, for example, or Dumfries and DiMarco, for example, they play like strikers in these kind of situations. Maybe even one of the center backs should come even closer. Maybe Kobbie Mainoo should actually be more in the box rather than be there. By being positioned in this kind of situation, we don't have enough target man in the box. And of course, we are not going to be able to create many chances. And so here, this is really good in the sense that we can keep the ball and we make the Manchester City players, fight for it. But as you can see, we have so many players. It's kind of lopsided. So many of our players are in the right area, with Højlund being the only one in the area. For him to score from here, you need David Beckham here. You need an amazingly accurate cross, which, of course, Bruno Fernandes did not deliver. But again, the main problem here is not really the delivery of this ball, but rather the fact that we didn't have enough targets through the middle. But now let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about why I really feel that this team is growing. So here the timestamp. This was in the 58 minute, 53 seconds. This was the last time that a Manchester City player touched the ball between now and us having a shot on goal, forcing a save from Ederson. So, of course, I'm not going to show you the whole sequence because it's going to take forever. But basically, fast forward into time, 61st minute, 22 seconds. We are in this situation. Still, no Manchester City player has touched the ball. Again, the way the Manchester United players are positioned, we're creating triangles, again, emphasizing, possession play. Here, Haaland has to chase, Kobbie Mainoo, can't really catch him. What I liked about Diallo is that he's kind of like making a run, dragging Matheus Nunes with him, but quickly he switches, he's quite nimble, very technical, and so he just takes out Matheus Nunes. And as you can see here, we have Bruno Fernandes making a run, dragging Bernardo Silva with him, with, of course, Diallo able to open up the play here towards Lisandro Martinez. This is still here. No Manchester City player has been able to touch the ball, okay? So then we have these two players, of course, Amad and Lisandro Martinez attacking, with, of course, Diogo Dalot and Bruno Fernandes providing support. But what I like about the sequence is that the moment the ball reaches Dalot, we do have 3 willing runners, okay? And then here, Bruno Fernandes has a choice to make. Does he want to be one of the runners in the box, or does he want to come closer in order to support Lisandro Martinez and Diogo Dalot? And that's what he does. And so the moment he receives the ball from Dalot here on the turn, as soon as he turns around, he's got two ready targets in Amad Diallo and Højlund. But then, of course, Mazraoui is also making the run. Remember what I said in the previous sequence, you need your wing backs to make these runs into the boxes because you need numbers in the box. And so here he goes with Amad Diallo, who, if you remember, started the sequence, who goes with this header. But even if he missed it and the ball went towards Mazraoui, there would have been a goal for Manchester United. But still, Amad Diallo, that's a very good header. If you remember his goal in the Solskjaer era, that was an amazing one. And as you can see, the next time a Manchester City player touched the ball, in this case Ederson, was in the 61st minute and 45 seconds, nearly 3 minutes. And the point that I'm trying to emphasize here is that even though we've beaten Manchester City before in the past, this is a great statement from the Manchester United players, because I can't recall a game where we could keep the ball for 3 minutes, nearly 3 minutes against Manchester City or against Liverpool or against Arsenal. Every time, even though we are able to, sneak in a win, we always do it as if we are just like hanging on to dear life. But in this game, this was us losing 1-0 up to this point. But it was just a statement from the Manchester United players. We are here. We're fighting for it. We're coming for you. And that was great. And then now, let's move on to the next two sequences, which in my opinion, really, they truly highlight what these Manchester United players are capable of in this Ruben Amorim system. So here we have Højlund being in offside position with the Manchester City defensive line over there. Bruno Fernandes, acting as a number 10 over here. But of course, Mazraoui winning the ball from Doku. And then here, three things. Højlund is coming back into possession. Bruno Fernandes is now looking at Ederson. He's identifying goal-scoring opportunities. Fox in the box. And then, of course, Mazraoui's tenacity. Not only did he win the ball, but he keeps it under pressure from Doku. And then here, Højlund drops into this deep lying forward kind of position, typical of players like Harry Kane, for example, in order to receive the ball, while Bruno Fernandes is making the run through the defense. And then here, Højlund and Bruno Fernandes are just going to do exactly what is expected of them. See this ball right here from Højlund. There is no better ball he could have made. There is no better decision that he could have taken right here. There is no better pass he could have executed. Same thing with Bruno Fernandes's run. Extremely well timed. And so we find ourselves in this situation right here, where the only thing missing was, of course, the finish from Bruno Fernandes. And of course, he missed it. I expect much more from Bruno Fernandes. If there is one player you could bet he would put that in the net, it's Bruno. But this sequence, what it shows us, and when I saw it, I just had a big smile on my face, is that Manchester United, they just need to apply themselves a little bit. Okay? Three things. First of all, anticipation and vision. Be able to identify those opportunities. Next, decision-making, making the right choices. And finally, technique, being able to pull off those passes, those dribbles, those runs, those finishes. That's it. That's all we need. The players are there. Just focus, guys. But now let's talk about the winning goal. And there is a lot to unpack about this goal right here, because I think that Lisandro Martinez was excellent, but especially Amad Diallo. Really, Amad Diallo in this goal has shown that he's got Albert Einstein's IQ. This is one smart little player that we have. So every time a player puts his feet like this on the ball, that means he's in playmaker role. He's waiting for someone to make a run. And of course here, Amad is going to make the run. Now notice how there's been a confusion for the Manchester City defenders. Here, Nunez is the one who's supposed to mark Amad Diallo, with of course Kobbie Mainoo being marked by Guardiola and Ruben Dias on Bruno Fernandes. Now, he makes this diagonal run right here, Amad Diallo. But look at what he does. Even better is that he realizes that Lisandro Martinez was a little bit slower in executing that pass. So he actually changed the direction of his run in order for him to remain onside. Great IQ player. This is great IQ play. Without this move, without this little decision making by Amad Diallo, in the nick of time, this would not have been a goal. He would have been offside. But because of this decision, he finds himself perfectly positioned, as you can see, to make a run between these two center-backs who are playing him onside. And then now, this was just amazing. This first touch right here is such an Amad Diallo first touch, simply taking Ederson out of the game. A lot of players, including dare I say, Rashford, Garnacho, would have just buckled under the stress, the anxiety of being in this situation, or just the adrenaline that they got. But Amad Diallo's got composure. He's got a head on his shoulders. Went beyond Ederson, and then unforgiven finish by Amad Diallo. 2-1 Manchester United. What a great result.